Oh, hello. My name is Mara, and welcome to Books Like Whoa. Alrighty, so you guys are about to see a vlog, or at least the first half of a vlog. It was getting long enough I felt like I was going to have to break it up into two, or else it would just be forever long. It is a vlog of me finishing up my first time read of every Agatha Christie novel. Now, to clarify, I tried a Mary Westmacott novel from her and was like, I didn't even finish it. I was like, this is not my truth. So I'm talking about when she's writing under the Agatha Christie name, and I've read all but 8 of her novels at least once. And this is a vlog of me embarking on reading those last 8. So you're gonna see 4 of them in this video, and then in the next video, we'll talk about the rest of them. I do want to mention that I started vlogging prior to any kind of lockdown situation, etc. Like I started vlogging in January, so just as a note, because if I don't mention that, somebody will say something. So just to be clear, this started pre-lockdown, and yeah, let's see how I do. Hey guys, we're here. We've reached the end of my Agatha Christie road. I mean, not quite, but like, we're starting the journey to the end of the Agatha Christie road, because one of my goals for 2020 was to finish reading for the first time every Agatha Christie book that I have left, which I think is roughly 8 books. I have read a number of Tommy and Tuppence short stories in the past, so I'm thinking that Partners in Crime is going to end up being kind of a reread, kind of a first read. We'll see. But I am getting ready to go on a trip to Cabo to sprinkle my father's ashes. So it will be a bittersweet trip, but it's Cabo, so I at least get some vitamin D and get to enjoy the sun. And the audiobook that I have downloaded for this journey is The Pale Horse. So I am recording this in February, and this month on the BBC, I think, there is an adaptation of The Pale Horse coming out. It will be hitting America in March. So I'm excited for that. And I have not yet read this book. It's one of the 8. So it is going to be my audiobook, and it is going to be the first book on this finishing up with Agatha Christie journey. So I'm excited / sad. Let's dive in. Okay, I am halfway through The Pale Horse. It's kind of bullshit. It's kind of nonsense, but in a fun way. So like, it's got a lot of the characteristic Agatha Christie charm. It's got a lot of supernatural bullshit, which I'm sure will be disproven, but it's just going to take a while to get there, I think. I don't know, the characters are interesting. I always love me some Ariadne Oliver, so that's nice. Yeah, I don't know. It's fine. I'm changing planes, so I'll let you guys know what I think once I get through it, because I think I'll polish it off on the next flight. So this is the hard life I'm living for the next few days. This is my view from my personal balcony here in Cabo. So, I'm living a very hard life, as you can tell. I did finish The Pale Horse on the trip, and I have to say, I was getting in the doldrums with it. And then, this is the first Christie in a very long time where I was totally wrong about the ending. It surprised me. I thought she was doing a different set of tricks. I really enjoyed it. So my initial impression is 4 stars. There's some fresh baked guacamole downstairs, so I'm gonna go eat some of that. But later tonight, maybe, I'll tell you my full thoughts on The Pale Horse. Come on, guys, do it again. Whoa! Look at that. Okay, fam, I am back in my room. It is late. I'm sorry if I'm talking quietly. The rest of the house went to bed at like 8 o'clock, and I'm still awake. Also enjoy my zit patches. My skin has been freaking out recently, for reasons unknown. Fun times. Pale Horse. I really like this book, guys. I'm a little surprised. So the way it was going, okay, so like context here. At the beginning of this book, I was like, oh yeah, this feels like a Christie. Like, this is like me getting snuggled in with my delicious gravity blanket and letting a kitty purr on my chest. This is just comfy and wonderful and lovely. You know, we meet
Mark Easterbrook. We meet, you know, a kind of cast of characters, and the type of mystery it is, I'm like, okay, this sort of feels like one of her more action-adventure-y kind of murder mysteries, as opposed to like a straight-up puzzle mystery. It had that kind of vibe to it. Then as the book progresses, like I was enjoying the character work, I was enjoying the clues that were getting unfurled for us. And as we get towards the kind of middle to like 60-ish% mark, which I think I checked in with you guys at, I realized that it was getting very supernaturally. And I just don't love an Agatha Christie book that gets really supernaturally or gets super into like fake science. In the 30s, she gets away with it for me because of just like the scrim of history makes it seem charming. But by the time we're in the 60s, it just is nonsense. It doesn't read great. And it was everything that I know people don't like about the Big Four that I find charming just because of how early in my Christie reading career I read that book. It had all of that. And I was like, oh, this took what it was going to be sort of like a 4-star book. Kind of, I was thinking down to more like a 3 or 3.5, but I will tell you that though I did not enjoy that sort of 20% from like 60 to 80% of the book, I did not enjoy that. I really liked how this book wrapped up, and it's because I thought we were going down one set of Agatha Christie tricks, like one tool set she uses sometimes, but we didn't go down that road. We went down a different one. And when I look back, I'm like, okay, I made some fundamental misassumptions about what kind of Agatha Christie book this was going to be. And I really, really liked the way she took things. So it resuscitated it back, I think, up to like a 4-star book. I actually really enjoyed The Pale Horse. And like I said, it definitely gave me some very comfy, cozy Christie vibes. Like it felt like a very Christie book. I think it was written in the 60s, so that's pretty impressive. I will say this book also features her complaining about girls in the 60s always looking unwashed. And I don't know what London she was living in. The photos I've seen seem like a lot of like really peppy, fun girls like in their cute little mini skirts, but apparently to her they all look like they literally have not bathed in weeks. So I don't know. That seems to be a Christie like trope, kink, whatever at this point. So that was weird. But all that to say, to wrap up, I really enjoyed The Pale Horse. This honestly makes me want to read another Christie, and I'm trying to decide if I'm going to let myself read another one on the plane back because this was so fun. So I don't know, maybe I'll just dive into like Destination Unknown or something, but yeah, this was a really fun one, and I'm excited to see the adaptation. Maybe I will vlog that as well. We will see. So anyway, I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to stop talking in this quiet ass house. And yeah, I'm living the life of luxury this week here in Cabo, and I'm gonna let all these fancy rich people treat me. That's just what I'm gonna do. So I will catch you guys later.
I'm on a fancy ass boat, trying to enjoy it. We are burying my dad at sea, sprinkling his remains, so it is a bittersweet occasion, but it's hard to be too mad when you're on a fancy ass yacht to do it. So wish me luck. Hola, it is the next day and we did what we came here to do. So I am returning to the United States, and I downloaded Destination Unknown. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna read that on the plane or not, because I also have a mystery going right now called Death in the Family that I'd like to finish up. I have Last Wish, which is the first Witcher book that I'm in the middle of. So I don't know if I'm gonna end up listening to Destination Unknown today, but it is in theory the audiobook I've downloaded. So I will check back in with you guys whenever I actually end up listening to it. So either today or at some point in the future. I'm not super thrilled to be leaving this as my view in the morning, but you know, get back to the drab gray winter in Tennessee, I guess.
See that clock in front of you?
Okay, so I am back at my house, and I listened to like 5 minutes of Destination Unknown, and just realized I was like really not in the mood for it. So pushing pause on that. I will come back to it at a future date. I'll let you guys know when I do. Hey, so I'm on my way to work. I was trying to figure out what audiobook I was going to listen to, and I realized I feel like some Agatha. So Destination Unknown is up on the docket next. We'll see how I do. I'm back very quickly because I started listening to this and I'm like, have I read this before? I'm wondering because this scene, I think what's happening is that this is a nearly identical scene to something that happens in The Big Four, but now I'm wondering if I've also read this. So I'm going to keep listening. If I keep having that eerie sense of deja vu, I might do a Wikipedia plot search and see if I've actually have read this one. It was not memorable enough for me to remember that I'd read it. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so I have ascertained that I have not read this before. It is just the opening scene is extremely similar to a scene in The Big Four. But I haven't read this one before. It's okay. It's not the best. Pretty melodramatic. I think it's very stuck in its time in a lot of ways. I don't know, like one of the opening scenes includes a woman about to commit suicide. I feel like that was handled very much as a plot device in a way that made me a little uncomfortable. Again, I think that's a stuck in its time kind of element to it. But aside from that, like, it's fine. Like, it's perfectly enjoyable. It's a Christie, so like, I'm liking it. I always enjoy her writing. It is one of her like spy thriller-y kind of things, and those can be a little hit or miss for me. This one isn't quite like, it's not good enough for me to be like, oh, this is really fun, this is really great, and it's also not really like campy and silly for me to enjoy it like some of the earlier ones are. So I don't know, if I was gonna guess, I think I'm about 70% of the way through, and I'd give it probably 3 stars right now. We'll see. I'm interested to see how our plucky protagonist is going to get herself out of the sticky Soviet situation she finds herself in. I should mention this is set in like the early 50s, so it's like a communist spy thriller thing that she has infiltrated through plot contrivances, basically. So anyway, once I'm off work and done with it, I will give you a full rundown, but for now, not the same book, but only okay. Okay, I am back at the homestead. So I think I'm going to end up giving this one 3 stars because I wasn't having like a bad time in this book. And I should say just, oh gosh, I'm looking a mess. End of a work day, guys. I should say what this book is about. So homegirl Hillary is massively depressed because her husband has left her and her child has died from an unexpected illness. And so she goes to Casablanca thinking that that might improve her mood. When she gets there, she realizes she is still incredibly depressed and she decides that she is going to take her own life. A man who works for the British like consulate or whatever, or like Secret Service, I'm not totally sure what homeboy does, but Jerome, is that what his name? Agent Jessup. He observes her going to all these different pharmacies, buying sleeping pills. He surmises what she's going to do and intervenes, like he breaks into her room and keeps her from actually going through with it, and recruits her for this dangerous mission to impersonate the wife of a scientist, a nuclear scientist, who they believe has defected to the commies. And so from there, intrigue, mystery ensue. There's also a love story because of course there is. This is how Agatha Christie rolls. I can't blame her for that. I mean, you know, your girl loves a love story too. So the problems, like there's no problems with this book. It's okay. It's fine. It's just that like, if we're talking the spectrum of a Christie thriller, on the one hand, you got Passenger to Frankfurt. Like you don't, that's the zone you want to stay out of. And on the other hand, I've not read it yet. I will read it sometime during this project, is like The Man in the Brown Suit, some of the early like fun thrillers that she did that I personally really enjoy. There's a spectrum. And this one is kind of like right in the middle because it has some of the preposterousness of Passenger to Frankfurt in terms of people just like, I don't know, like there's just a lot of hand wavium of, oh, this person is like the big player in the world finance, who's the mover and shaker behind everything. And it's a little like Illuminati, basically. That's kind of a good way to describe it. And it's just kind of nonsense. There's a little bit of that, but it still reads more like a good Christie, because this was written in the early 50s. So like she's still, a master of her craft at this point. It's not like when you get to the 60s and 70s and there can be some real like writing quality issues. It doesn't have that. So I feel like I want to put it in the middle, because while I certainly enjoyed it, I listened to it today at work while I was getting through things that I needed to do. And, it was a nice way to help keep me company while I was doing, boring administrative things. It wasn't a great Christie, and it does have some elements in it that make me uncomfortable. I mentioned when I checked in, the way that's handled made me pretty uncomfortable. There's also some, like, I guess what we would call problematic elements in this, in terms of certain depictions of race and women just haven't aged well. And it's not that I like hold it against her in the sense of like, how dare you not be more ahead of your time than you were. It's more just that like to a contemporary reader and a contemporary reader's sensibilities, it's jarring and not pleasant necessarily. It takes you out of the story. Like if you just want to talk purely on an enjoyment level, as opposed to like, this isn't great, it takes you out of the story, because you're like, wait, what did you just say? Like the ending, the twist, the disguise was a lot. So there was that. I will say that there was this very interesting moment when she specifically references the handsome prostitutes who are kept at this secret, like Soviet-ish, like communist-y compound to take care of the men who are there who don't have wives or who don't like their wives. That was a weird thing in an Agatha Christie novel. So anyway, all that to say, like, highs and lows, I didn't have a terrible time reading this. Did not enjoy this anywhere near as much as I did The Pale Horse. I would give this a 3-star, fine, not great. With that being said, I think since this was a thrillery one, and I think the Tommy and Tuppence ones mostly have kind of a thriller element to them. Maybe I will try to see in my list which one has more of a mystery emphasis in it and read that next. I'm not sure off the top of my head, so stay tuned. Operation Polish Off Christie rolls on. Okay, so I had not planned on talking to you guys again about this project for a while. But the day that I filmed reading Destination Unknown, we actually had a tornado go through Nashville. Last night was a lot. I did not sleep a lot. I'm feeling very jittery and anxious because the tornado went right through my neighborhood. Like it was very scary. It was very intense. And I just want some comfort reading. So up on the docket, I have Network Effect, which is going to be my physical book. And I think this week I'm going to allow myself to go ahead and read another Christie. And I want to pick one that I'm pretty confident that I'm going to really like. And I've heard really good things about The Man in the Brown Suit. So I think even though it's a more thrillery one, and I said I was going to try to pick a mystery, I've heard such good things about this book. I could use with some good Christie today. So I think I'm going to start that as my audio. I'm going to read Network Effect by Martha Wells as my physical book. And I think I just deserve a hug because it's been a real, it's hard to put into words because my house is fine, thank God. Like I think physically everything here for me is fine, but I love my neighborhood. I love my community, and it's just feel like the word I want to use is like a violation. And, it's not that deep, but it feels that way right now. So I think to distract myself, I'm going to read The Man in the Brown Suit. So I'm already getting to my third one. I'm being very efficient about this. Efficient / running through them too quickly. Depends on how you look at it, I guess. But anyway, so that's going to be my next pick. Well, hey. So I think when last we talked in this vlog, I lived in a very different world. I think it was before, I think the last time I checked in was right after the tornadoes happened. And since then, what all has happened? I got cats who are adorable, but they added some complication to life. I had emergency surgery, which as of this filming, I am still recovering from. We went into lockdown for pandemic. And as of this filming, we are also in the middle of a bunch of protesting here in the U.S. So it's been quite a lot of life since last we talked. And I did start listening to The Man in the Brown Suit, but I remember nothing of it. I mean, the anesthesia or whatever probably knocked all of it out of my brain. So I am going to restart that one. Oh, I'm going to restart that one. And we'll see how I do with it. Geez, 2020 has been just a ride. So I am about a quarter of the way through, and this is so delightful. I am really enjoying this one, guys. Like, I had heard this was one of her really good kind of like early mystery, not even mystery, but like action adventure kind of books. And it totally, at least so far, it totally is. Anne Bedingford, I forget exactly what her last name is, but Anne is a delightful narrator. She is very plucky. It does have a lot of like conveniences and stuff, but I don't care because it's just fun. Yeah, like this is just like jolly japes, and I'm very much enjoying so far. So I'm gonna keep listening today. I'm doing some editing. In the first pass, when I'm doing editing on videos, I'm just like taking out, like I'm doing the tight edit bit first so I can listen to things. So I'm gonna listen to this. I'm gonna keep listening. Yeah, I'm having a really good time. This is what I like in a Christie. I am flying through this today, guys. Like I'd listened to the first little bit, and now I can't put it down. Like I listened to that a few days ago, and now I can't put it down. I'm like doing chores that I've been putting off just so I can keep listening. Anne Bedingfeld is such a delightful Christie heroine. This like is just so wonderful. I'm really enjoying it. It's like the great Christie prose, the characters that I really enjoy. I think especially having the last book I read from her be Destination Unknown, this is such a contrast to that in terms of just like, this is so much better. There's definitely some problematic colonial stuff. It was written in 1924, so like contextually, you kind of got to decide how you want to approach that. I would warn somebody who's going to read this that there is like not great stuff around that, but it's so good. I'm really enjoying this. Okay, I'm going to keep doing my chores so I can keep listening. Okay. So I did go ahead and polish that bad boy off, and I really loved it. I do have to knock it down a half star because like the colonialism and like implicit, and I think sometimes explicit racism, like was distracting to a modern reader. Towards the end, there's like some political upheaval stuff happening in South Africa. I think Christie's attitude towards it is more paternalistic than like actively hateful. But it is there, it comes up enough that it is distracting, and therefore I cannot give this book 5 stars because I found it distracting, and it really was like the note that detracted from an otherwise like just lovely, very jolly, classic Christie kind of action thrillery mystery thing. I would say that this is probably, in terms of the quality of it, the best one she wrote, at least of what I have read. I've not read much of the Tommy and Tuppence yet. We will get there. But I think it's just very... it strikes all the right notes. I personally really enjoy the Big Four, but I see its flaws. And I think it's got that same vibe without being as over the top. And in terms of like the who of the whodunit, it was a possibility that definitely crossed my mind, but I was like, I'm not sure if she's going to go there or not. It was one of the like, I had 3 ideas of how things could wrap up. And it was the most delightful path she could have gone. So I was so excited when I realized that was what was happening. So yeah, like I just really, really enjoyed this one. I'm going to give it a 4.5. Like, I think if it wasn't for just like period accurate but distracting colonialism and like implied racism, it would have been a 5-star. For that, I have to ding it down a half star. And I would give that as a warning for sure on this one. If that's something that will be more than just distracting to you, I would probably steer you away from this one. But other than that, this is just like exactly how I like Christie in this mode. God bless you, Anne Bedingfeld. What a heroine, what a narrator, just all around pretty darn delightful. Hooray! Good news. Secret Adversary just came in for me as audio from the library, so I am going to get going on that today. I ideally would have finished all of the non-Tommy and Tuppence first, but I'm still waiting for Death Comes as the End. So I've got a few more weeks until that one comes in, but we'll go ahead and get going with The Secret Adversary. And I will tell you that I have attempted to read this one in the past and basically got distracted. Like, I didn't really get into it. So take that for what it's worth. Sometimes I'll think that I'm in the mood to read something. I read a chapter or two and then I'm like, I'm not quite in the mood for this right now. So I think that's kind of what happened in this case. We'll see how things progress.
Hey. My little purr machine. I've gotten comments saying that maybe I should have named Marple and Hastings Tommy and Tuppence, but I just felt weird about that because they're brother and sister. Like, they're pretty much twins, if you can't tell. And I just felt weird about naming them after a married couple. Do you hear him purring? You could have been Tommy, but you're not. My sweet little Hastings. Hi, buddy. My sweet baby Marble. Hi. You're such a good girl. Oh, is your sister getting a snuggle and so now you want in?
Okay, so today I actually got Death Comes as the End out from the library. It just arrived unexpectedly. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm liking Secret Adversary, but I'm not that far into it and I'm not like in it. So maybe I need to like pause and do Death Comes as the End. I don't know, but both of those are now in play, so they're gonna end up being kind of back to back, I think.
Hi. My sweet girl. Oh, did your brother keep coming over here and trying to take your spot? Oh, man. Yeah. Say, that is usually where I sit when Mom is sitting in this chair, and my sister came over and took it. See, now he's keeps coming over and harassing her, so she gave up. Come back.
Alrighty, so I did go ahead and finish up Secret Adversary today. I guess I'm just kind of meh on it, which I guess isn't a surprise given how I got started with it. I was hoping maybe it would really like win me over fully and I would end up really loving it, and that just didn't really happen. But I don't think I've actually told you guys what this one is about, so just quick summary wise. Secret Adversary is the, I think, second book Agatha Christie ever wrote, and it's the first of her sort of political thriller-y kind of ones that have some sort of mystery element baked in. It stars Tommy and Tuppence, hence the Tommy and Tuppence series, and they are friends who both are sort of like genteelly poor, so that kind of British thing where you come from a good family, but at some point you get to be the generation that doesn't actually have any money left, but you have like social standing. So Tommy has like some rich relatives, but he himself, after World War I, doesn't really have any money. Tuppence, her dad is an archdeacon. I think she's got a bunch of siblings, and she also, after the war, doesn't really have any money. And they run into each other and kind of decide that like they can go into business together as young adventurers. So like they'll, you know, kind of be like PI type things. And they're overheard when they're putting that plan together by this dude in a tea shop, I think they're at, and he offers Tuppence a position to like basically go to Paris and just like pretend to be related to him. And she just like doesn't basically like not ask any questions, but just to be there. And she flippantly says that her name, he asked for her name, and she flippantly says that it's Jane Finn because Tommy was telling her a story about how he heard these two like shifty characters talking about someone named Jane Finn, and homeboy like really reacts very strongly to that, and this basically gets them going on an adventure on behalf of the British government. So like they found this job and hijinks ensue basically. So I think it would have been interesting for this to have been one of the first books of this kind that I'd read from Agatha Christie, because this just reminds me so much of several of the other ones that are sort of in this mode. At this point, I think we can say that the character type of Tuppence is very common in a Christie thriller. Like pretty much all of them have a plucky young girl like this, especially in this era. And while Tuppence is fine, I wouldn't say she's like my favorite version of this character. I definitely like Lady Bundle better in this mode. And I also like, from this reading project, Anne, I think her name was Bedingfield, better in this mode. I think that the writing in this one doesn't have the same sort of like just fun quality that later Christies will have. And like, to be fair, Mysterious Affair at Styles, which comes before this one, also isn't like the best of her prose, but I think it works better in that one just because of the kind of book it is. It doesn't have as many like jelly japes and like bantering. So there is some banter in this one between Tommy and Tuppence. Also, side note, they start as friends, but like, are you surprised that they're gonna fall in love? If you've read any Agatha Christie, of course you're not. So like, there's some like romantic intrigue happening in this as well. Yeah, I mean, I think all in all, it is like, this is a perfectly fine Christie. I remember liking Tommy and Tuppence a lot better in the short stories that I read that included them, so I'm wondering if those are more like actual mystery plots, which we'll find out because one of the books that I'm going to read next is Partners in Crime, and that one is only Tommy and Tuppence short stories. And I know that I've read at least some of those before, I just don't think I've read them all, and I definitely haven't read them all like kind of in one go. So I'm wondering if that book maybe will help me like warm to those characters more. I think this is just like not the best introduction to these two characters because I just like them in other books like this better. These character types I have liked better in different iterations in the Christie oeuvre. And, you know, in terms of like how the thriller kind of pans out, I think it's fine, but I saw what was happening pretty early on because this does remind me a lot of the books that I've already read. So yeah, I just think all in all, I'm gonna give this 3 stars. Like, I would say, I'm trying to decide if I like this or Destination Unknown better. I probably like them roughly the same. This one is maybe slightly less problematic and therefore a little bit more charming. I think it has like moments of intrigue or delight. Probably a little more so than Destination Unknown. Those are definitely like not prime Christie time, I think. And I think that just even reading this book has made me reflect on like, oh, you know, there's like a reason I've been saving some of these thrillers to come like later in my reading experience, because they're just not like, I love a Christie mystery. Like, that's my favorite version of what she does. I can like some of her more political intrigue thrillery things. Like, I definitely have some of them that I like, but in general, I'm gonna like a Christie mystery better than a Christie thriller. So we'll see kind of how that progresses. Speaking of, I think I'm gonna go ahead and like pause this vlog here because I'm thinking it's gonna be pretty long, and we'll do a part 2 once I've gotten through the last 4 books. But I will say, just like to kind of wrap this round of it up, do you think of I've got 4 books left. I have Death Comes as the End, Partners in Crime, In or M, and I think Postern of Fate are the 4 I have left. I think of those 4, Partners in Crime is going to be my guess of the one that I'm going to like the best of those 4, but I don't think that I'm going to like any of these 4 as much as I liked Pale Horse or The Man in the Brown Suit. So I think that I may have like peaked early. I may have like shot my load a little early here because I think those 2 are going to end up being my favorites. Death Comes as the End, I do think has like an actual murder mystery component to it, but I believe it is set in ancient Egypt and therefore is not going to have some of the trademark things that I like in a Christie. So I'm less optimistic about that one. And then I know that In or M and Postern of Fate I think are later in the Christie oeuvre, and that just tends to get a little dicier. So I just don't think any of those, I'm guessing that those 3 are not going to be my favorite, but I do remember like Tommy and Tuppence from short stories with them. So I am holding out hope that Partners in Crime is going to be pretty great. But as of now, I would say unquestionably The Man in the Brown Suit is my favorite, followed by The Pale Horse. Like, those were 2 good ones. And then Destination Unknown, Secret Adversary, for me, were both kind of just like, they're fine. So we will see how the rest of this reading project progresses. But for now, I think this is where I'm gonna leave it off, just so that this doesn't become like such a long video that it's impossible to edit. So I think I'll leave that there. Definitely let me know what your thoughts are of the 4 books that I've read so far. Are these ones that you really love, really hate, whatever? Let me know of what you thought of the Pale Horse adaptation that came out recently, because I read that one when I did so I could watch it, and then I watched it and was like, this is like not enough like the book. It's its own thing, and I don't know how I feel about it being its own thing. So let me know your thoughts about that one in the comments below if you've seen it. And just in general, let me know if you got any predictions about how I'm going to do with those last 4. So I think that will do it for now. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you're so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below, along with a link to register to vote. And yeah, I think that will do it for now. I hope you're having an absolutely lovely day today, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye.